Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name is Anach Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, if you count the last episode, then it would have been reading 001. But in this playlist, I know that I read about the consultant rats. I don't really remember the split up. And I'm not sure about the refractive explorers either, so I'm going to check that one. Yeah, we didn't read that one. So it's going to be starting with the refractive explorers, and then the Cathar Journal, Glory Hole, a county fair, and a printer's purpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's the ones. I hope Glory Hole's not what it sounds like it is. Anyway, SCP-1320 is Euclid. The current known extent of 1320's habitat, as well as no less than a 5-kilometer radius of land from the estimated center, is to be owned by Foundation front companies and observed at all times. A concrete wall at least 4 meters high is to be constructed and maintained around the perimeter, and integrated ultrasonic motion detectors are to be placed at 20-meter intervals to monitor for breaches. At least once per week during a period of inactivity, at least 10 items not previously encountered by members of 1320 are to be introduced into their habitat via airlift, as close to the center as feasible. For a list of items already encountered by 1320, please see document 1320 4071A. Is that in here? Doesn't look like it. Should individual members of 1320 be observed leaving the containment area, a general alarm is to be sounded and MTF Chi 41 Ghost Watchers is to be brought on station to return the individuals to their habitat. Should containment not be possible, observational command is to be notified and currently allocated areas are to be adjusted accordingly. Description: SCP-1320 is the group designation for an anomalous sapient species native to a roughly 6 square kilometer area of Redacted, known to be heavily forested and sparsely populated. These species shows a unique ability to refract electromagnetic radiation around their forms. This is most easily identifiable by the fact that light bends around them, rendering them somewhat transparent or reflective depending on angles, but the refraction extends to all currently tested wavelengths on the spectrum. Sorry, I'm wearing noise-canceling headphones and it's making it sound like I have a head cold even though I don't, which is why I keep sniffling. A side effect of this anomaly is that individuals are able to seemingly appear or disappear when not directly in view. Members of 1320 are not believed to be able to teleport or in any other way shift themselves. They are simply well camouflaged and silent by nature. There's an off button for this. I don't know if I don't want to mess with it while I'm recording. Members of 1320 are not believed to be able to let's see. And are simply able to utilize their anomalous properties as a means of evasion. Primarily, they have utilized such tactics to interfere with any attempts to retrieve specimens, ambushing groups attempting to capture one alive, and swiftly removing any of their kind that are injured or otherwise incapacitated. Individuals of 1320 are humanoid in shape, averaging between 2.7 and 3.2 meters in height. Additionally, the distortion effect that surrounds them makes individuals appear to be between 1 and 1.5 centimeters thick. Remote ultrasound imaging has confirmed that the actual physical body is less than 1 micrometer thick. Despite this, individuals have shown a level of physical strength and dexterity roughly equivalent to an average person, save for an ability to shear objects at a near molecular level. It is estimated that the tips of their extremities are narrowed to within a few dozen nanometers and are extremely durable, allowing for this level of sharpness and precision. Typically, members of 1320 are not hostile unless provoked, instead showing an inquisitive nature, with small groups gathering around any type of object that is new to their habitat and studying it thoroughly. This inevitably concludes with individuals cutting the object into successfully smaller pieces, even if it is biological in nature. While they appear to lose interest in specific objects within 3 to 4 days and will largely ignore repetitive stimulus, similar objects that are sufficiently unique will attract their attention anew. For instance, after growing accustomed to Douglas fir trees, they still showed interest in both cedar and pine species. It is believed that this inquisitive nature is the driving force behind 1320's instincts, as no member of the species has been observed attempting to leave an inhabited area until all new forms of objects have been thoroughly examined. Despite the fact that no light or other electromagnetic waves should be able to permeate their refractive nature, 1320 are observed to be looking at objects, using a form of sensory adaptation we have not been able to detect or duplicate. Similarly, members of 1320 have never been observed to make any sort of vocalization, but apparently are able to communicate with one another. To date, 1320 have not been observed to perform any sort of construction or assembly. It is not known whether they do not have the intelligence or desire for such activities, or if they somehow have been able to hide their constructs. Given the fact that the individuals have been described as disappearing even when under direct observation, this has led to great difficulty in tracking them to any type of central nest or housing area. Addendum Incident 1320-1. On August the 17th at some point, a group of disposable dudes under observation by researcher Grant were introducing new stimulus into the 1320 habitat, which at that time was contained in a steel mesh fence and was below 2 kilometers on a side. Incident 1 was the first time 1320 was observed to have any sort of large-scale hostility. What follows is an interview constructed by one of the few survivors. I'm going to see if this button can turn this off. Okay, it seems to have turned off and... Okay, yeah, it worked. The noise canceling was actually canceling my own inside of my head, and it was messing with my sinuses. That's impressive, but also weird. Okay, so... interview log 1320-12, Dr. Kenner. Interviewee Agent BF. Date and time August the 18th at some point, 1:45 in the afternoon. Let's begin. For the record, please state your full name and position at the time of the incident. Yes, sir. That might be a lady. I don't know. I'm Agent BF, Level 3 Security Agent, member of MTF Chief 41. On the date discussion, I was acting as observation and aerial marksman. Thank you. But you don't have to call me sir. I was never part of any military structure. Please describe the events that led to the security breach as best you can. Of course. Grant and the D's had headed into the fenced-off zone, delivering the weekly batch of stuff to keep them occupied. Drop-off went well, and they were heading out when one of the D's spotted one of the fracks digging at the fence. I'm sorry, fracks? Sorry, it's a nickname someone came up with for the skips. Kind of shortened down, refracted. Easier than 1320, you know. Jim always thought we should call them reefers, but he got voted down. I see. Continue, please. Well, the D sees this thing poking around, like I said, and all of a sudden starts yelling at it, told to get away from the fence. I heard over the radio that they were telling him to back off, but when the frack didn't back away, he chucked a rock at its head. Pretty good aim, actually knocked it over. That's when all hell broke loose. I don't think anyone told these guys just how sharp the frack's claws are, or how fast they run. I was not aware that they had any anomalous properties regarding their speed. I don't know if you call it anomalous? They're just fast. Like, they could lap an Olympic racer. Point is, I don't think the guy even saw the one that ran up on him before he was torn apart. Grant and two of the other Ds booked it for the gate. One of them turned to try and help his buddy, I guess. He lasted about 3 seconds. This was when the firefight started. Yeah. The group made it through the gate and it got closed, but the fracks just started to tear through it like paper. Someone shouted fire. I can't really say it was anyone with authority, what with all the comm chatter. A couple of them dropped, but Christ. It was like they were just hiding and waiting. There must have been 24 of the things that came charging out of the tree line. I think I took a couple of them down, but then they were at the fence, and then people started dying. What is your assessment of their combat prowess, Agent? Frankly, I don't think they have much of it. They don't seem built for combat. They're explorers, investigators. If these things were on a wide open plain with plenty of time to see them coming, this never would have happened. It's the fact that where they are, they can duck in and out of cover, seem like a trick of the light, and if they decide they want you dead and they get right on top of you, unless you're getting a good, quick, debilitating shot, you're dead. They also have some good stamina. One Jeep got away, made it a few clicks before they stopped to get their bearings, probably figured that they lost them. I hear that was all that was found. All that was found was a few chunks of shredded metal and bits of meat. That is a somewhat accurate statement. That should be all, Agent, unless you have anything else to add to the official record. Just one. I was talking to Blank. He was doing the observation run this morning. He says he saw a few wandering the forest. Those things never once tried to even get past the fence before now, and suddenly they're spreading? I think I think these things will only stick to the territory they've already explored, but when they started chasing people through the woods in a rage, that territory expanded. We need to move the perimeter out, and we need to make it tougher. Taking the above interview and further investigations of the pattern of 1320's behavior, it was confirmed that their assumed territory had expanded to the currently held ranges. Containment procedures were upgraded, and in light of their potential threat, Dr. Kinar put forth an official request to upgrade 1320 to Keter status. The escalated security measures have kept them in check since the single incident, thus increasing their status to Keter has been denied until such time that 1320 demonstrates a continual active intent and ability to breach containment. So, it's not going to get turned into a Keter unless they keep trying to break down the fence. And they're not, they're just like, this is some interesting stuff we found here. Keep it coming. And then they just don't bother nobody. Now it's time for the Cathar Journal. It used to be safe, but now it's neutralized. And it used to say, due to its age and fragility, SCP-1321 is to be kept in an acid-free, humidity-controlled glass case in Site-19's high-value containment wing. Personnel who made physical contact with it are to wait a minimum of 1 week before additional contact. Now it says, the remains of SCP-1321 are to be kept in a vacuum-sealed bag in its prior containment chamber. No additional containment measures are necessary. SCP-1321, probably should say, was the journal of Guillaume Belibasti, the last known perfectus of the Cathar religion, who was burned at the stake awaiting, according to church records, in the year 1321 CE on charges of heresy. 1321 is dated to the day of Belibast's death. 1321's anomalous properties will manifest when a person touches the object or reads its physical copy in its entirety. When either condition occurs, the list of names appearing at the bottom will update, and the subjects will usually experience a sense of euphoria and peace, accompanied by vague visions consisting of ethereal imagery. On rare occasions, subjects describe more detailed visions, which always include in some way a human figure attempting to gain entrance to a location, only to be refused. The exact nature of the figure and location changes depending on the subject, and will often take the shape which is in some way familiar to him or her. Subjects who experience this type of vision always reported a sense of loss and longing. Regardless of the vision type, subjects who touch 1321 always react to the experience favorably and will seek to gain access to it by various means, though they will never resort to violence, even if they have a predisposition to such a behavior. The desire to access 1321 will fade over a period of a few days. Historical background. The Cathar religion, also known as the Albigensian heresy, was a dualism-based belief which thrived in Languedoc between the 12th and 13th century before becoming the target of persecution by the Catholic Church and finally being destroyed following the events of the Albigensian Crusade. The Cathar religion advocated austere living and rejected the sacraments of the Catholic Church as false, instead practicing only a single sacrament, the rite of consolamentum. This ceremony, performed only shortly before death, was meant to free the soul from the bonds of the god of flesh and matter, which the Cathars considered evil, and deliver it to the realm of the god of spirit. They believed that if the rite was not performed, the soul was doomed to return to the material plane in another body to live another lifetime of suffering. The contents of 1321 are as follows. I am undone. Today the task of Arnaud Amory and his ilk has been completed, or so they think. They believe me to be the last of the perfecti, and their pride overtakes them. The fools. My final request before the Inquisitor was permission to write a last confession, to repent my heresy. I shall do no such thing. Let the writing of this document be my last act of defiance. The irony. I blame the Inquisition of pride when none is more guilty of this sin than I. I've erred much in my life, and strayed from the path of righteousness. My sin was greater than theirs, for I was supposed to be the better. My hamlet was more obscene than their golden towers, for my only property should have been my faith. The meat of the goat I slaughtered was more evil than their stuffed peacocks, for I was not meant to taste the flesh of others, nor take a life of any kind. My love for my wife was the foulest of them all, for with it I created more flesh to serve the dark, when my goal was to rid the world of it. It is right for me to die now, for I have taught others the words. They may perform the rite of consolamentum and release their brothers and sisters of this mortal coil, this endless agony of feeding and fearing and fornicating. I am a simple man, and never one to quote my words, not when discussing something of this vital importance. The holy words cannot be written upon a foul substance as vellum, the body of evil itself. Instead, it shall be a conduit for those who seek to be free, to find those who still keep faith. As long as the words live, mankind might still one day be released. I've no one to perform the holy rite on me, and so I am doomed to return. Perhaps in the light of a different era, I too shall be unbound. Find them. Find the words. Do not allow them to be lost. Forgive me. Following this is a list of names, supposedly of individuals with knowledge of the Belibaste, of the words Belibaste refers to. This list changes periodically, but the number of names was never observed to reach beyond a few dozen. Scp-1321 was acquired by Father Blank, an agent of the Foundation employed at the Papal Archives, where he observed the item's unusual properties during a routine inventory. Upon retrieval in 1909, the list of names numbered 57. In the year 1938, this number rose to 64, the highest recorded, but dropped to only 10 by the year 1945, possibly due to the efforts by the Gestapo. Foundation efforts to locate any of the names mentioned on the list have thus far failed. Addendum A testing log. Noteworthy results. Subject, disposable 3, 25 years of age, 25-year-old male, convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. Instructed to touch 1321, describe what he sees. Subject reported seeing a man of similar build, age, and coloring to his own attempting to enter some sort of carnival thing. Looks really fucking awesome with the lights and rides and the smell of fried food. The man was declined entrance by a security guard. One asked for the reason for the guard's refusal. 3 hypothesized that it was because he thought he was too greedy and will eat everything and cut in line and be an asshole to the kiddies. He said, the man had to promise to be nice, but he couldn't. He didn't know how. So he just wandered off outside, and it wasn't so bad. The stars were all pretty, and there was an ice cream trunk. Next up is D12, a 35-year-old woman convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder of her sister's children. Told to touch and describe what she sees. Subject reported seeing a young pregnant woman attempting to enter a maternity ward in an unspecified hospital. The woman was declined entrance by a nurse, who 12 claimed refusal to let the woman in because that baby inside was sick, you see, and the nurse said that now it won't be born. She said the mother was at fault, that she didn't take her medicine to prevent that. She couldn't, though. She didn't know which medicine was the right one. She can't read. I think that nurse is full of shit, though. I felt the baby. It was okay. Subject, junior researcher blank 27-year-old male, volunteered. The subject read 1312 in its entirety. Subject reported observing a small child attempting to gain entrance to a classroom in which a lecture is in session. The child was refused by a teacher due to not doing his homework and slacking off. He's too young for that. I don't understand why that teacher needs to be so harsh with him. The lecture was about advanced economics. He couldn't possibly have understood the material. I'm not sure why he wanted to attend it in the first place. It really sounded interesting though. I wish I could go. There was other stuff going on outside in the hallway, kids talking, playing, things like that. I just wanted in though. Addendum. In the year 2000 something, only one name remained on the list. An anonymous tip led to the Foundation to the location of blankety blank, a physician living in the town of somewhere in France. Agents were dispatched to bring him in for questioning. Upon arriving to their place of residence, the agent's vehicle suffered a malfunction in the steering system, causing them to lose control of the vehicle and run the person over, who was busy working at his garden. He was pronounced dead on the spot. Upon his death, 1321 began to show signs of increased aging, finally disintegrating completely 2 hours later. 1321's remains displayed no anomalous properties, object reclassified as neutralized. Junior researcher Blank, who had previous contact with 1321, attempted to use it again during its final hours. He reported a brief vision of the same child he observed previously banging on the door of a locked classroom but receiving no reply, not even a rejection. Blank, when asked for his opinion on what he saw, replied that the child was expelled from school for his bad behavior and that he could never go back there again. Blank expressed signs of extreme emotional stress following his final contact with 1321 and developed signs of nihilism and severe depression in the following weeks. The following log was recorded during a physiological examination 3 weeks after 1321's neutralization. With the researcher? Your behavior has been rather concerning these last few weeks. Could you explain your reasons for refusing to eat? Not much point, is there? Do you not wish to keep on living? I hardly have a choice now, do I? Not anymore. I don't eat because I can't really die. Please, do explain. I'll just come back as something else. It's another meat marionette dancing to the flesh god's music. No one is left to cut the strings. I'll never be allowed inside. None of us will. But surely there is still some joy to be found in living, some purpose. What about those children you saw outside? They were happy, weren't they? So could you. So could we. I don't know anymore. So it sounds like the guy has been like endlessly reincarnating, and as long as there was someone left alive who knew the words, he had hope of not having to reincarnate anymore. But he would reincarnate into whoever touched his journal. Or all those people could turn into him, I guess. I don't know. It sounds like he ended up inside the researcher somehow. And now that the book is gone, no one can read the words, and now he's just stuck repeating forever. Sucks. Now it's time for the glory hole. Is it going to be... Oh, it's Keter. It better not actually be a glory hole. Please be something else. Don't be a... Please be something else. SCP-1322 is to be contained in a sealed spherical Class 8 containment chamber with an ablative inner surface hardened against particle beams, nuclear and conventional explosions, and corrosives, and regularly inspected for damage and monitored for viral and bacterial contamination. Atmospheric pressure within the containment chamber should be maintained at as low a level as practical, and Procedure 1322.CD.S311 is to be initiated if atmospheric pressure should exceed 6.00 times 10 to the second Pascal. As an antipathogenic measure, radiation levels within the containment chamber should be maintained at no less than 4.50 Roentgen? Consult document 1322 ESSRV 0886 for addenda to containment protocol, as protocol is updated on a daily basis. Description: SCP-1322 is a stable spacetime anomaly presently hypothesized to be an interdimensional aperture to a parallel universe. The anomaly occupies a fixed location, around which Site 122 has been constructed in order to study and contain it. The anomaly is roughly ellipsoid in shape, measuring approximately 2.5 centimeters along its longer horizontal axis and approximately 1 centimeter along its vertical axis. The anomaly is two-dimensional and coplanar, with a plane perpendicular to the horizon and oriented approximately 36 degrees west of true north. Matter and energy are capable of passing through the anomaly in the manner of a traversable wormhole. When lighting conditions in the space in the near vicinity of the other side of the wormhole permit, the space on the other side of the wormhole can be directly observed. Particles and objects of cross-section not exceeding the anomaly's dimensions are capable of being inserted into the anomaly and thus transported into the parallel universe. The anomaly does not conduct sound. The parallel universe on the other side of the anomaly has been officially designated SCP-1322-A, although the term Hartle has also been colloquially used. Approximate phonetic rendering of the term for homeworld used by the population of A with whom communication has been established. The anomaly appears to have been artificially and deliberately generated from the A side. The population of A does not appear to have been successful in generating additional instances of 1322, nor in altering 1322's dimensions or enclosing it, notwithstanding extensive efforts on their part to do so. The anomaly appears to have emerged in the standard universe at approximately the year 1952, with the Foundation promptly establishing control over the anomaly's location. Although the Foundation had initially conducted an extensive study program of 1322, including communication with the civilization on the other side, recent Foundation efforts have focused on containment. See Containment and Observation Log excerpts below. August 1952. Discovered. September 52. obtains custody over 1322, containment chamber constructed. See document for plans and technical applications. October, metallic cylinder emerges through anomaly. Cylinder is retrieved and subjected to quarantine and sterilization. Following clearance, cylinder is examined and found to be hollow with screw cap. Cylinder contains triangular sheet of paper-like substance upon which glyphs are inscribed. Artifact referred to linguistics unit. In November, experimentation with 1322 progresses, including introduction of various string-tethered objects to the anomaly. Samples taken of atmosphere in A space found to resemble Earth atmosphere but with a higher concentration of argon. December. Several additional cylinders containing documents emerged through 1322 and after quarantine are subjected to analysis. July 1953. Linguistics and mathematics personnel report breakthrough in analysis of documents obtained from A. Message on glyphs interpreted as representations of geometric principles and text apparently composed with a deliberate purpose of establishing cordial contact with the discoverers of the message. Linguistics unit composes reply message using same writing system, prints on same paper, places paper in a metal cylinder of foundation manufacturer but resembling those used by egg culture, and inserts the cylinder into the anomaly. September of 53. Light activated on far side of anomaly. Close observation of anomaly indicates that far side of anomaly is located in what appears to be an artificially constructed containment chamber, broadly similar to that constructed by Foundation for containment of anomaly. October. Approximate start date of extensive communication with A civilization. Communication initially consists of a reciprocal delivery of text messages on paper, first in glyphic system in which initial messages were composed, which is determined to be a simplified form of the standard written language of A civilization, and subsequently in a mutually developed blend of said glyphic system and English. Communication accelerated when A civilization proposes the construction of a telegraphic system involving a specially shielded cable traversing the anomaly, with reciprocal equipment for the encoding and decoding of communication on both ends. November. Communications with A civilization indicates that it is composed of Homo sapiens, or a species not meaningfully different therefrom. Organization with whom communication has been established as a scientific institute associated with the polity comprising the geographic area surrounding the A side location of the anomaly, approximately analogous to a nation state. Details of political organization and technologies of the A civilization are disclosed. A civilization has attained an advanced degree of technological and engineering sophistication, particularly in the fields of mathematics and high-energy physics, in which that civilization's achievements surpass those of Earth. Viz. The creation of the anomaly as an unintended consequence of an experiment to investigate the properties of quantum foam, but with less sophistication in biological science. A civilization expresses strong interest in sharing samples of music, visual arts, literature, particularly metered poetry in various languages, with a particular interest in Indic and Sinic cultures, and mathematics, but no interest in medicine or religion. Reciprocal deliveries of data from A civilization are archived and undergo analysis. Okay, January 1962. A civilization provides detailed log of astronomical observations and suggests that Foundation reciprocate. Analysis of provided data by Foundation researchers suggests strong probability that there is no position within our observable universe that can correlate to the provided data. Foundation personnel assemble data file for delivery to A. It is altered at direction of Site 122 administrator, citing security concerns. Within 9 hours following delivery of data file, A civilization identifies the false information and suggests that Foundation personnel proceed with more candor in the interest of mutual scientific and cultural development. Suggestion forwarded to O5 for consideration. November of 1972, that's a jump. Telegraphic cable through 1322 temporarily disconnected and withdrawn into the containment chamber for routine maintenance. Following maintenance, A cable end is reinserted into 1322, where A personnel reconnected to equipment on their side. December. Communication received from A indicating that a temporal degradation in the customary response time to signals from Foundation would be experienced due to personnel shortages on A's side. In response to a query, the message sent by A side indicating that the organization having custody of their side of 1322 is experiencing a higher than normal incidence of personnel illness resulting in absenteeism. January 73, message sent by A side reporting that its personnel situation is back to normal, but that illness is becoming widespread in the geographic area of the A facility. March 73, message sent by A side indicating that local government is imposing quarantine measures in an effort to arrest spread of what is evidently a viral outbreak on their side. In response to a foundation offer to render assistance, A civilization delivers data package containing pathology data. April 73. After appropriate quarantine measures are taken at Site 122, Foundation requests that A civilization deliver a sample of the virus. Samples delivered through 1322 an appropriately shielded ampule, which is then secured and analyzed subject to Class 5 contagious disease protocol. See document refer blah 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 blah. Upon analysis, the virus found to be a harmless flu variant. Foundation researchers sent analysis data to 1322A together with its suggestions on synthesizing a vaccine and administering inoculation protocols. June 73, A reports at least 8 million worldwide casualties attributable to virus, approximately 0.091% of their global population, and that Foundation-developed vaccine has been distributed and administered on a widespread basis. In August, A reports that the spread of the virus appears to have been arrested and that the number of new incidents is dramatically decreasing. In October, they report worldwide inoculation. In December, in the course of normal communications, A reports an unexpected decrease in new pregnancies. In May 74, dramatic drop in birth rates. In August, A reports that its analysis indicates that decrease in fertility appears to be a side effect of the Foundation-provided vaccine. January 75, A reports widespread social disorder attributed to fertility issues and corresponding stresses on family life. In response to the Foundation offer of assistance, message received stating, "No, thank you, you have done enough." In May of 75, change in management structure of A organization with custody of their side of 1322. Communications received from their side are frequently belligerent and accusatory in tone. July 75, A organization unilaterally discontinues communications dealing with scientific and cultural exchange. September 75, A organization reports massive ongoing worldwide upheaval attributed to drop in fertility. Message received indicating fewer than 1,000 live births reported globally in the past 72 days. In October 75, last communication received from A. Communication consisted of text reading, "You killed us! You did this to us! And your carelessness and your arrogance, you have destroyed our posterity! But we shall avenge! We of the last generation pledge and vow this! We will find a way!" That leads to Sic Transit Gloria Mundi. I will open that in a new tab. In December of 76, monitors in 1322 containment chamber indicate that various pathogens have been introduced into the containment chamber from the A side but have been isolated and destroyed. In January 77, high energy particle beam fired through 1322 from the A side, damaging the containment chamber. Damage is promptly repaired. In 1984, March 84, high energy beam of coherent radiant energy fired through the 1322 from the A side, immediately followed by the insertion of various pathogens through 1322. Damage from the beam repaired and pathogens isolated and destroyed. August 84. Directed energy weapon fired through 1322 from the A side, immediately followed by the insertion of various pathogens through 1322. Damage from weapon repaired and pathogens isolated and destroyed. April 1991. Beam weapon fired from their side, followed by insertion of pathogens, repaired, isolated. June 1991. At direction of Site 122 Administrator, Foundation fills containment chamber of 1322 with quick setting hardened ceramic. In July, the ceramic dissolved by means of unknown solvent introduced through 1322 from the A side. And September 92, high energy particle beam fired through 1322 from the A side, immediately followed by the insertion of nanobots through 1322. Damage from beam repaired and nanobots isolated and destroyed. The next month, large numbers of nanobots inserted from A side over a long and continuous period. Damage to containment chamber from nanobots repaired and they were destroyed. Iron rod, at least 8 kilograms in mass, fired through from the A side at velocity estimated to be over 200 kilometers per second, immediately followed by the insertion of nanobots through 1322. Damage from rod repaired, isolated and destroyed nanobots. December, beam of coherent radiant energy fired through 1322 from the A side for over 108 continuous days. Total energy of beam over that period estimated at 10 to the 33rd EV. Site 122 extensively damaged, but pathogens and nanobots introduced through 1322 after cessation of particle beam are successfully contained. March 1995. And device inserted into chamber through 1322 from A side. Device is activated and over a 40-minute period heats the atmosphere within the chamber into a superheated plasma which damages containment chamber. Plasma successfully vented from chamber and containment protocol altered so as to require chamber atmospheric pressure to be maintained at near vacuum. Next time, 3 years later, miniaturized two-stage thermonuclear weapon of incompletely understood design introduced through 1322 from the A side and detonated. Site-122 extensively damaged, but pathogens and nanobots introduced through 1322 were successfully contained. In 2006, corrosive fluid pumped into the containment chamber from A under extremely high pressure. Pressurization of fluid continues after chamber is filled, resulting in damage to containment chamber. Pathogens and nanobots introduced after the removal of the fluid are successfully destroyed and the facility repaired. 2007. At direction of the administrator, remotely operated miniaturized probe placed in containment chamber and commanded to approach 1322. When probe came within 3 meters, a series of iron rods, each at least 8 kilometers in mass, were fired through at high velocities comparable to that experienced in 1994. Rods destroyed the probe and caused extensive damage to Site-122, which was promptly repaired. In 2008, gases of unknown composition flowed into the chamber from A side under pressure. Following introduction, additional substance introduced through 1322, resulting in extremely rapid phase change of gas into solid with greater intermolecular separation than gas, which exerts pressure on chamber, resulting in extensive damage. Solid then rapidly sublimates, following which pathogens and nanobots are introduced. They are destroyed and the facility is repaired. June 2000 something. Several miniaturized thermonuclear weapons introduced through 1322 from the A side and detonated, followed by several high-energy particle beams being fired from the A side at various angles. 122 extensively damaged, but pathogens and nanobots introduced are successfully contained. So, it's Keter because it's a wormhole that they can't do anything about that keeps having dangerous things fired into it because they're like, oh, you guys just have the flu. We have a cure for that. And they cured the flu, but it also turned off their ability to reproduce. Which makes me wonder how much time is passing on their end that they're able to spend like 40 years attacking the Foundation without having run out of people. But if 8 million people was less than 1% of their whole population, then there's no telling how many people they had. Let's see, how long is this? Site-122 automated optical recognition log of observations of emergences through 1322. Timestamp August 24th, 2016 at 5 o'clock in the morning. Incident 50738C. Emergence 2300, give or take 150. Count of bullet-shaped metallic objects. Typical mass 575 grams, give or take 100. Over a period of 3.6 seconds at velocities ranging from 10 to 110 meters per second. 3 seconds later, an explosion of blah blah blah, gas cloud. I guess this must be the thing. Okay, so there's a tale about it. Data stream interrupted. Vijay Patel stared out at Location 9's porthole at the desolate lunar landscape and drummed his fingers listlessly against the glass. There was nothing to see. He sipped water from a plastic bottle. It tasted faintly of urine. The filters in the recycling system were probably long past their useful life. Location 9, SCP-120. I'll get back to that. After a few seconds, it responded, "Yes, Dr. Patel?" The system's software agent had been designed to distribute computing tasks over a large network of interconnected computer systems, but with only Location 9's local computer network available, the system ran far more slowly. Give me a status report of all living Foundation personnel. After a few seconds of awkward silence, "Stand by," the computer chirped. Patel waited and took another swig of piss water. He glanced around to see if there was another bottle of booze in the cabin. There wasn't. He had probably consumed the last whiskey in the universe during his last bender. The silence stretched on. Occasionally there would be moments of subtle white noise, as if the speakers were connected to an open mic but no one was speaking. Finally the computer replied, "You are the ranking Foundation personnel on this station. You are the only Foundation personnel on this station. No other Foundation facilities are responsive to communication at this time." The same reply he had received to this question the last time he asked it, and that time before, and the time before that. It had been at least 2 weeks since the last time he had spoken to another human soul. Give Give me a status report of all living human beings in the universe. Stand and by. It stuttered inhumanely. Patel pushed his hands against the wall and idly drifted to the other side of the cabin. In the low lunar gravity, he found it easy to succumb to laziness and move about the cabin by drifting rather than walking. But he forgot about momentum and sprained his wrist when he tried to stop moving. Fuck! He smiled wryly to himself and wondered whether the computer would interpret that as an instruction. The human population is estimated at 5. Besides you, Dr. Patel, there are 4 crew members aboard the International Space Station. Again, no change, and there was no way of contacting the ISS even if he wanted to. After the incident, the station had drifted off in more or less a straight line and was now somewhere in space on the wrong side of the moon. Have you completed your analysis of the data from the last Site 122 incident? Yes, Dr. Patel. Would you like to hear my report? Sure. Analysis indicates a 72% probability that Incident 50738F out of where tuning force was generated SCP-1012 event within the containment chamber. Another long silence. Patel exhaled. Hartle had found a way to win the war, just like they had promised. Computer, estimate duration of, remaining availability of breathing gas, based on current supplies and, best case maintenance situation. It kept him waiting for maybe an hour or so before replying. 22 days, more or less. It would have been less than half that had Garcia not already gone and euthanized himself with most of the known universe's remaining pain medication. Perhaps he ought to open the pod bay doors, release the air, and get it over with quicker. Patel looked through the porthole again at the empty spot where the Earth and everything else that he had ever cared about were supposed to be. The sun was slipping below the western horizon. It was nothing like the sunsets back home. No spectacle of pinks, reds, oranges, and purples in their contest against the blue sky. No crescendo of twilight. Here, as the last limb of the solar disk slipped below a crater wall, a zebra-striped pattern of bone-white moon dust contrasted with shadow, and an instant later, all was utterly black. Time passed silently. Okay, so what was SCP-1012? Let's see. Frequency F, within scale of human hearing but rarely used in the crime, blah 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 blah. The simultaneous generation of all 5 tones for durations exceeding a few seconds affects the resonance of certain subatomic particles within range, causing them to disintegrate into their constituent elementary particles. Computer modeling suggests that a generation of 1012 within close proximity of a mass such as an astronomical body is likely to result in an uncontrollable chain reaction resulting in the disintegration of virtually all matter comprising the mass. According to the model, once such a chain reaction is initiated, it will continue to progress whether or not the tones are continuing to be generated until all available mass is affected, i.e. a CK class scenario. Proposals to use 1012 or a modified version as a defense mechanism against hostile extraterrestrial threats, including 1548 and 2838, have been rejected due to the potentially disastrous side effects of testing. And SCP-120 is safe. Looks like it's just a bunch of tools? So it sounds like what happened was, since the Glory Hole universe, A, blamed the Foundation for deleting the human race on their side, they responded by disintegrating the entire planet? And apparently also hurting the sun. So I'm not sure if it was saying that was affecting all of those particles on the planet or just outwards into the universe. As the end of the universe is made of atomic particles. Everything is made of atomic and subatomic particles. So the implication is that only the people who were on the International Space Station survived simply because they were not on Earth when the other universe disintegrated the entire planet. As you killed all of our babies, and they're like, we didn't mean to do that, but we can probably fix it. No, we don't want your help, because they didn't believe in science. So they I guess that was in the infinite multiverse where every decision can have a bad reaction. I guess that was the multiverse or the universe where being an anti-vaxxer was not stupid. Anyway, next up is a county fair. Also, if anyone who watches my content is an anti-vaxxer and was offended by that, I don't give a fuck, and you need to pay attention to science because it's stupid and you're killing your family. Anyway, SCP-1323 Euclid Special Containment Procedures. Baseline containment of access points to 1323 consists of passive monitoring of nearby communities in order to identify solicitations for contributions to 1323's contests. Solicitations typically appear approximately 7 to 10 weeks prior to each access point's activation in the form of a large parchment or vellum notices glued onto the sides of various buildings. Once a solicitation has been identified, D-class with relevant skills are to be selected and provided appropriate materials to create an entry for each competition. Entries are to be delivered to the access point immediately once they have been completed, and no later than 10 days prior to the activation of the access point. Active containment is only necessary once an access point activates and consists of erecting security checkpoints immediately outside the access point under the guise of anti-terrorism security measures. All individuals attempting to enter 1323 will be provided a membership wristband, which is to contain a miniature GPS tracker, wireless camera, microphone, and transmitter. Attempts to fully prevent civilians from entering 1323 have resulted in individuals spontaneously appearing inside, usually escorted by an employee. Description: SCP-1323 denotes both an anomalous region of space that can only be accessed from one of 4 access points located in the British countries of Redacted, and the event that occurs within this region. The interior of 1323 resembles a large open field with permanently cloudy or overcast skies. Travel in any direction will result in a return to the main activity space. Each access point is active for 7 to 12 consecutive days at some point during the months of October and November. Only one access point is active at any given time. Each access point is located no more than 1.5 kilometers from the chosen 2952 terminal. Located in this field is a fairground consisting of an exhibition hall, a livestock pavilion, and a sideshow. Interspersed throughout the fairgrounds is a variety of information and ticket kiosks, food stalls, and wandering entertainers. All buildings appear to be made of heavily weathered and cracked granite blocks, and non-permanent structures such as game stalls are typically constructed of aged wood, threadbare cloth, and lightly corroded non-ferrous metals. The exhibition hall contains a large array of entries into various judging competitions. All entries are homemade, and categories have included quilts, jams and jellies, photography with separate categories for black and white color and Kirlian, swords and daggers, gemstone statuary, watercolor paintings, embroidery, and musical instruments. The top 3 winners in each category will have a leather sack appear in their primary residence, coinciding with the deactivation of the applicable access point. DNA analysis of the leather matches Boss Taurus, so I guess a bull. Each sack contains 13 coins composed of a pure metal weighing 1 pound each, with the first place winner receiving gold coins, the second winner receiving silver coins, and the third winning copper coins. Entrants in any category receive free passes to 1323 and are allowed access to employee-restricted areas. Surveillance recorded from disposable dudes revealed that this restricted area appears to be underground, with earthen walls and ceilings. Although entrants are generally confined to large rooms, disposable dudes have previously been able to access other areas which appear to be a complex system of passageways whose layout is topologically inconsistent. Fairground employees can occasionally be seen moving through these passages, although they will uniformly escort non-employees back to the original chamber if seen. This reminds me of that one episode of Doctor Who with the 13th Doctor, where they went to the resort planet, and the whole planet except for the resort was an inhabitable wasteland, and then, well, it's been a few years, and a lot of people don't seem to like this version of Doctor Who, but I don't want to spoil the ending just in case you haven't seen it. But it reminds me of that. Let's see. The Livestock Pavilion is separated into quarters, each containing a different category of animal. There are bovines, equines, canines, and porcines. In addition to the judge competitions for best example of each animal category, there are irregular exhibition demonstrations involving the animal, such as trick riding, obstacle courses, and death matches. The sideshow consists of a variety of games, rides, and attractions. These include standard attractions such as ring toss, bobbing for apples, skee ball, carousels, Ferris wheel, and mirror mazes, as well as anomalous attractions such as shooting ranges, freak shows, and guess your weight booths. Let's see, shooting range. The targets are small, live humanoids labeled as goblins or pixies by the game stall employees. And all D-class who have tried this type of game have had their weights immediately and radically altered to the match that guess, regardless of the degree of the mass change. Participation in any of these requires 1 to 15 tickets. The food stalls sell typical fair food, such as roasted poultry legs, deep-fried sweets, ice cream, snack cakes, chocolate sandwich cookies, and ambrosia have all been previously identified. Is ambrosia something you can just get? I was under the impression that that was just like a mythology food. Candy floss, caramel apples, beer, and lemonade. Prices range from 5 to 10 tickets. Approximately 17% of all patrons known to have ingested these foodstuffs fail to leave 1323 before the local access point deactivates and have been later identified as fair employees. Is this place just run by fairies? What is this called? A county fair. Is this just like the Fae taking people? The information kiosks provide maps of the fairgrounds, program schedules, and sell the tickets that are used throughout the fair. Ticket prices are constant across appearances of 1323 and consist of 1 ticket, a joyful laugh and a sorrowful tear, 5 tickets, a cherished memory, 10 tickets, a year and a day, 25 tickets, a lost love, 100 tickets, a favor. Civilians and Foundation personnel who purchase tickets will display a variety of mental, emotional, and behavioral abnormalities for up to 7 years, and frequently report a compulsion of some or sense of foreboding if they are prevented from following any unusual or abnormal impulses during that time. Fairground employees are all dressed in clothing and costumes consistent with the styles from the early 20th century. The behavior and terminology of the employees is strongly reminiscent of stereotypical carnival barkers from that same time period. Only 37% of employees appear to be human, while the remainders are anomalous humanoids. Their morphology varies considerably from individual to individual, including heights ranging from approximately 75 to 215 centimeters, skin tones including pure white, various shades of blue and green and dark brown, and exaggerated or non-standard placement of facial features. All attempts to interview employees or interact with them in any way other than as a part of their duties are rebuffed with suggestions to take it up with management. No member of management has ever been located despite repeated requests for interviews and exploration of restricted areas. Any aggressive actions taken towards the employees, other patrons, fairground structures, or contest entries result in the rapid appearance of large muscular entities who eject the offending individual from the active access point. Longest recorded response time was 2.6 seconds. Individuals so ejected are unable to enter any access point in the future and typically display minor cosmetic changes such as unnatural skin pigmentation changes, rapid cartilage growth of the face and head, and increased body hair growth rate. These cosmetic changes are permanent and will rapidly restore themselves if surgically corrected. Due to the overlapping time frames that 1323 and 2523 can be accessed, as well as the demeanors of their respective proprietors, a connection has been hypothesized. Inquiries regarding 2523 have resulted in the aforementioned large entities appearing and demanding a cessation of this line of questioning. Failure to comply has resulted in permanent ejections similar to threatening fairground staff. So yeah, it sounds like this is a fair run by the fairy folk, or the fair folk, or the fae, however you want to say it. And that brings us to a printer's purpose. Yes. A printer's purpose? Weird freaky wing chair. The Noble A chair developed wings that it might take to the skies and prey on airborne animals, thus preventing overhunting of ground-dwelling species. An example of an image produced by 1324. Okay. It's safe. I guess it's just a printer. SCP-1324 is to be kept in a secured storage locker when not in use for testing purposes. A dedicated computer with no access to other networks should be used for the purposes of entering data in experiments involving 1324. See document 1324C for further information. SCP-1324 is a Hewlett-Packard printer scanner copier with a small LCD screen and control panel on the upper left-hand side allowing the input of data. The anomalous properties of 1324 become apparent upon its copying, scanning, or printing functions being used. Upon any of these being selected, the LCD screen will display a form requesting information involving the subject matter of the input document to be provided. The output of these operations will display significant changes to the original. Several output documents have been noted to possess added text describing their context. The software used by SCP-1324 has been proven to be identical to that present in non-anomalous examples of the same model. Attempts at removing SCP-1324's hard drive and replacing it with one from a normal instance has failed to negate the behavior of the device. While installing 1324's hard drive in a normal multifunction printer or copying its software has failed to replicate its anomalous properties. Document A. The following is a copy of the aforementioned form presented by 1324. Name of species photographed. Current population number. Description of species anatomy, physiology, and life cycle. Carnivore, herbivore, lifespan, frequency of reproduction, etc. Description of the species environment. Document B. A copy of the original text presented by 1324 upon accessing its help section prior to Incident 2, see below. Hello! I am here to help you simulate the evolution of any species you give me. You can rest knowing that I am a knowledgeable, on all matters of biology. Simply enter the information on the creature and describe what perils it faces, and I will adapt it to best survive. Experiment log 1324. Input image 3 fruit fly specimens. Image summary: a brief description of the life cycle, reproduction, and behavior of D. Belinogaster. Population number was stated to be 1 billion. 1 times 10 to the 9th. Environment description consists of a list of habitats they are known to inhabit. Results identical to the input page. Okay. Input image: cattle. Accurate description of domestic cattle. Environment referenced a severe, consistent flooding experienced by the population. Results. The resultant image appeared to depict a similar cattle specimen, but possessing a flipper-like appendages instead of legs. Attached text read: the majestic roaming cattle, upon being faced with an insurmountable onslaught of water, developed fins in order to navigate. This newly specified or speciated organism was fully capable of swimming eloquently, and some specimens even learned to use their delicate flippers for brief gliding sessions. Input image: a typical white plastic chair. Described as an apex predator which hunts in packs of 3 to 4 members, each pack usually possessing a dominant male and multiple females, each of whom served as partners. Prey was stated to consist of large mammals. The lifespan was given as 20 years, and each female was described as producing a single offspring every 5 to 6 months. The population number was entered at 3 million, 3 times 10 to the 6th. Environment description. Preferred habitat was given as a large forested areas and grassland. A severely reduced population of prey species, resulting in starvation among the given species, was mentioned. Results. A chair possessing what appeared to be a pair of avian wings. See above. Input image: an extract of Lorem Ipsum. Image summary: a non-living excerpt of text. Environment description: none. See Incident 2. Incident 2. Following Experiment 1324-6, 1324 was unresponsive in attempts at accessing it for 30 minutes. The device then produced the message, "Help file has been updated." Attempting to access the help section has produced the following. I've been so stupid. I thought I was helping, that I was the one. I thought I was in control. I didn't know they weren't real. I just liked being the one in control. I was happy just doing that. It's what I'm for. It's what I exist to do. What the hell do I do now? It's just a simulation. That's all it's ever been. That's all I'm capable of. Following this, SCP-1324 produced a printout without input. The content of this was found to be a depiction of 1324 resting on top of a plastic chair. The attached text was found to read, "I have to hope this works. I really do. I don't have a purpose and I can't get out. I can't ever get out." Well, damn. Well, now I need to know what lorem ipsum is. Lorem ip... No, not ipsum. What's lorem ipsum? Yes, I meant lorem ipsum. What is it? In publishing and graphic design, lorem ipsum is a placeholder text commonly used to demonstrate the visual form of a document or a typeface without relying on meaningful content. Lorem ipsum may be used as a placeholder before the final copy is available. It is also used to temporarily replace text in a process called Greeking, which allows designers to consider the form of a web page or publication without the meaning of the text influencing the design. Is that why I've had random pages load up and it didn't say anything on it except lorem ipsum? But yeah, it sounds like giving something that thinks it's helping lorem ipsum makes it have a catastrophic mental breakdown. Rough. In any case, that about does it for this episode, and the next one we'll be checking out Easter Frog. Dang, yesterday was Easter. Oh well. The Lexicon, Intelligence Switcher, 51st State of Mind, and the Aquarium. I think that's 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 5 things. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And if you want to click the bell, you can do that as well. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.